Quick one, if you're a developer, if you're a coder, very quickly, whatever it is you're building, it's very important to partner with somebody who is more business minded. Uh, technical people tend to be very focused on the technical aspects and then we leave out the business side of it. But then I assume I'm talking to entrepreneurs, which means people who are in the business of value creation, right? And I'll say don't build an app. And many of us, the previous one. Yeah, so how many of us remember this image? How many of us can tell us where in Lagos this is? Oshodi, yeah. This was Oshodi not that long ago, and it's interesting that not many people would actually recollect that Oshodi was once like this. So imagine that this is your business idea. This picture of Oshodi is your business idea, right? And you are supposed to sell to some people in this image. And consider the fact that the first thing you try to do to sell to people in this place is to go and build an app or build a website. It makes absolutely no sense, right? But then, that's what many of us do. We see a problem, and then we immediately start to build an app. Or, we build an app, and then we start to look for a problem that the app can solve. So it's not atypical that people will build a solution. So somebody builds a solution built an access solution for estates. And the product was done and he was complaining that there was no patronage. And I asked him, how many estate associations did you talk to in the process of building this thing? Oh, and he said, no, that it just assumes that. And you can't make those kind of assumptions, right? You have to be talking to people who are going to use your product. Next slide, please. So there's something else that is very key. And what I'm trying to do is to lay a foundation for how we think about customers so that it will help us. Now, there's a reason why they call it e-commerce. I always joke that the it's not called electronic C for a reason. It's called e-commerce for a reason because there has to be commerce. The the electronic part of it, just comes to support what has been built, what is on ground. Without commerce, we have nothing. But what I see is that many of us focus too much on the electronic, on the digitalizing, on the, on that side of it, on the electronic part of the business, and we realize that there is no commerce to what we're doing. Very important that for me, I would even say that. So if we take our minds back to maybe 20 years ago, technology adoption was not as deep as it was, right? But that guy in the Idumota market was doing business, and was doing business with people in China, right? And there was almost no technology, right? If we look at that woman that sells lace in, what market do they sell lace now? Lagos Island market as well. You realize that woman was also doing business, but there wasn't necessarily anything like technology that was aiding her business. But she was a good bookkeeper, she was a good inventory manager, she was a good leader, she was a salesperson, do you understand? And the business thrived, right? Now, the reverse is the case today where we just think that once we get the electronic right, once we get the digital right, it doesn't matter whether there's commerce or not. I think it's something we need to really change our mind about. And I'm sure that by the end of this conversation, we will actually understand how. Do you understand what I mean? To put commerce ahead of, what's it called? Matter of fact, consider electronic as a multiplier, and what that means is that if commerce is 0, electronic is basically coming to multiply nothing, right? So if your commerce gain is 10, 100, then electronic just basically comes to amplify what commerce is already doing. Next slide, please. Right, so the very premise of every idea, the very premise of every business is your value hypothesis. And what do I mean by the value hypothesis? Today, TechPoint assumed that if they put this event together, people will come and pitch their event and get feedback based on it. That's the value hypothesis. That's it. So if you sell t-shirts as an example, your value hypothesis is, if I make this t-shirt, people are going to buy it. That's the value hypothesis, right? And for me, the sooner you can test your value hypothesis, the better. Not just the sooner. The least cost-effective way you can test the value hypothesis, the better. Now, it doesn't also mean that the first time you test the value hypothesis, that you will get the kind of results you want. I mean, I read somewhere that failure is a data point, right? So everything is data. So whatever it is you're doing, if you set up, I don't know, if you set up a suya spot and you assume people are going to come, right? You want to test out how, you want to test out that value hypothesis. If I set this thing up, will people come to buy from me? Now, that's the whole concept of what an MVP is, right? And it's as easy as putting out something on social media. It's as easy as putting something up on, you know, your WhatsApp status or whatever it is. The cheaper the way you can do it, the better for you. And let me just quickly touch on wait lists, right? Wait lists are nice. People saying, hey, I'll buy this service when it shows up, I'll buy this product when it shows up. But don't get carried away by 1,000 people signing up on your wait list. I'd rather have you have 5 paying customers than have 1,000 people on your wait list, right? Because human beings are interesting people. We can say we're interested in something, and then when the time comes to actually part with money, it's a different ballgame at times. So for me, it would be that as soon as possible, get your product out there in the scrappiest way it can be. Now, some of us will fall into the trap of it has to be perfect. Let me shock you. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I really mean this, right? Facebook has maybe 20,000 developers and engineers working with them. Facebook still crashes. Instagram still crashes sometimes. That's the reality. WhatsApp has crashed. MTS network has gone down before, several times, right? Now, we always assume that, oh, if people come and then it's not nice, they won't come back again. Partly true. But then again, if your value offer, the value offering is tight, right, then people are going to come back. So don't assume that, oh, you have to get it right the first day. No. It's a very wrong way to think, because you will just spend too much time trying to get this product to the market, and then you get it to the market, and then then you realize that you're even building wrong, or you're making a lot of assumptions. The sooner you can put your product in front of people, the better. And please don't be afraid to ask for money, please. I understand the whole concept of free, but please, the idea is getting your first 100 paying, emphasis on paying customers. Because I can ask everybody here, do you want a free t-shirt? Everybody will raise up their hands. But if I say it's good, who's going to pay me? And then if I give everybody here, about 30 of us or thereabout here, t-shirts, and then I assume that, oh, everybody likes my t-shirt is going to be, what now? A very sellable idea. But then again, you just realize that the moment I say, come and pay what? Maybe 5,000 naira, maybe nobody pays for the t-shirt. Or maybe if I say pay 500 naira, then maybe everybody pays, or people don't even pay because they assume it's not going to be good quality. So it's always important to put, what's it called? It's always important to have paying customers. All right, so then the question is, after you've decided who is your customer, right? If you look at this picture here, this is a crutch and this is a mother. And then you ask, who is the customer? Some people assume, for instance, if you wanted to sell to maybe an organization, for instance, you might assume that the most important person in the organization, who maybe we assume is the CEO, is your customer. But that's not always the case. In this case, there are people who would consider. There are people I call users, there are people I call customers, and then there are people I call gatekeepers, right? Your users use the product. So in this case, the child is the user, they consume the service. The mother is the customer because she gets to pay. But there's also another image I didn't include, is the gatekeeper, the nanny. If the nanny's job, for instance, might become threatened by this crutch, she might also take into consideration the customer, take into consideration the gatekeepers. And among these three people, you might even realize that your gatekeeper is your decision maker. And in that scenario, even though they are not the one paying you, you also want to make sure that you're satisfying whatever needs that they have. So it's important that we understand that. Right, so in thinking about your customer, you should also ask yourself, why are they buying what they buy, right? And why should they buy from you? We'll answer the first question. Let's look at the typical wristwatch as an example. If somebody buys a Rolex wristwatch for, I don't know, $20,000, obviously that person is not trying to know what the time is. If you get what I'm saying. That's a lot of money to spend to know what the time is. So obviously that person is probably spending for status, right? But that person would never admit to you, themselves, or anyone else that they are spending that money for status. They won't. Maybe a few. Do you know Milani, Hush Puppy? Maybe. Do you understand? But for the most part of it, most people will not agree that they are doing that for status. Now, we need to understand the mindset of the customers that we want to sell to. Why are they buying? Why? Why do people spend money? It's something we need to pay attention to. And it's important that we pay attention more to what people say. To what people do more than what they say. So, I'm not sure if this example will not come to me, but I mean, you see a young lady that says she wants to save money. She earns 150,000 a month as an example, but she's buying air every month of 250,000 naira. Do you understand? So, you want to pay attention to what that person is doing. Why is she buying the air? As an example. Is she doing it to, I don't know, definitely not to impress any guy, because men don't know which air is 500 naira or which air is 50,000 naira. We don't know. That's the truth. For a lady here, we don't know. Or does any guy know? No. We don't know. That's the truth. No, trust me, most guys know. Guys, you guys know. No. No, we don't know. We don't know. I think there is 250K, is it? No. So you get the point. But then again, so maybe she's doing it, do you understand what I'm saying? To maybe, I don't know, make a statement to other women. I don't know. I bet maybe that kind of thing happens. But then again, you need to understand why she's doing what she's doing, right? So carrying out a needs analysis on your customer is very important. And this is where it gets very technical. You can't necessarily ask your customer, why are you doing this? Some may tell you why, right? But you also want to listen to the unspoken nuances. So if you see somebody who is driving a very nice vehicle, and then you ask him, well, why are you driving this vehicle? It's not necessarily going to tell you that, he's driving it because the car is efficient or whatever. Because he's probably using that car to make a statement. Now, why it's important to understand the needs analysis of the customer is because it's also going to impact on how you talk to that customer, which we'll get to in a minute. So, 2 questions you need to answer. Why is this customer buying this service, right? And then the more important question is, why should they buy from you? And I think that's an even more important question than the first question, because that customer already lives their life. They're already making their decision, and as far as they're concerned, you're the one who's excited about your product, you're the one who's excited about your offering, you're the one who's excited about your service. As far as the customer is concerned, they've always lived their life without your product, without your service. Do you understand what I mean? So the question then is, why should they really care? Do you understand? Think of your product as a song that doesn't hit. Nobody's going to listen to it. Do you understand what I mean? But then the question is, why should they? Very important as well. So, why is this customer? So we're trying to establish a trail of thought now. We've asked ourselves the question, who is the customer? Why do they buy? Why should they buy from us? And then, where is this customer? And then we also need to understand the buying environment. So, let us assume this is me. I'm not this handsome, but for a minute, let's assume this is me, the guy on the left, and I'm also the guy on the right. This is me on a Monday morning, and then this is me on a Friday night at 6 p.m. Right? Same guy. But I'll tell you that the mindset of the guy on the left is very different from the mindset of the guy on the right. Right? If you try to sell the guy on the left, the guy in jeans, a productivity material on Friday at 6 p.m., he doesn't want to hear you. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's not listening to you. If you try to talk to him about serious business on Instagram, he's not listening to you. Do you understand? So 2 things are important. You need to understand where's the customer. Because, so Seun Abimbola on LinkedIn, for instance, is different from Seun Abimbola on Twitter. Maybe on Twitter, I'm a savage, as an example. You know, I abuse everything that is moving. You know, and I most likely won't use my real name on Twitter, right? Or, you know, Slay Queen 97 on Instagram is definitely not Slay Queen 97 on LinkedIn. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's also very important. So again, where am I hanging out online? Where am I hanging out offline? What's my mindset? What am I open to? Am I receptive to your message? How are you intercepting me? If you're trying to sell me a product I need, but you're trying to sell it to me in the wrong medium, I most likely would not hear you. Because, again, depending on the platform, it would also determine what my mindset is. Depending on how you're intercepting me, it will also determine, you know, what my mindset is. I mean, there's this joke I always crack. A few years back, I was hanging out with one of my friends at some lounge somewhere in Lagos. And, you know, I'd gone to see my friend there, and my friend was drinking and smoking. You know, and I sat down. Interestingly, that day, I didn't drink. I wasn't doing any of that. I needed to just have a conversation with him and leave. But there was this guy who sat at this other table. And he kept on looking at me, and I kept on looking at him. You know, so the guy got up to leave. So I was being polite, and I said, "Oh, sorry, you kind of look familiar." Oh, he said, yeah, I know you. Yeah, you heard of this service unit in church, in this XYZ church, blah, blah, blah. And he left. So my friend was saying, "God save your father. If you were here, you know, canceling bottles and, you know, being a bad guy, you know, your pastor would have come to settle matter again." Same person. So if you saw me on a Sunday as an example, and then you saw me on a Friday evening, depending on what you're trying to sell me, that would also determine how receptive I am to, you know. So again, we've identified the customer, we've identified, we've identified the buying environment, we're sure of all of this. Then the messaging is also important to the customer. Now, you might get angry with this message, but this says you make it, and make it again, then you get a bang and awesome. The other one says, frankly, piano was made with just a few people in mind. The other one says, if you still have a boss, the piano is not for you. Very arrogant, very, very arrogant people. Very arrogant, but that's their message. Do you understand what I mean? And, I mean, like it or not, it's kind of true. I mean, if you wanted sound to just come out, I mean, maybe you get a Sony, you know, but if you wanted to make a statement, then, I mean, the same Sony that probably cost you 250,000, the piano will probably cost you 3 million for the same thing. So, how do you talk to your customers? Do you talk to them in the language they want to be spoken to? Do you talk to them in the language that they understand? Some customers want you bold, direct, make big claims. Do you understand? Some customers want you to sell softly. Again, the customer determines the language that you speak to them. The platform you're also engaging the customer through also determines how they receive your message. And that's very important. And if you're not there yet, don't try to talk like piano, because I mean, that will just alienate most of your customers. You know. But I wanted to say something, but I'll just pass. Can you move on, please? All right, so testing your value hypothesis. We said everything comes down to value hypothesis. I am making an assumption that people will buy my t-shirt for 3,000 naira. That's the assumption, right? And I want to test it. There was something I said avoid family and friends as much as you can. Most people usually start business and they want to sell to family and friends, and I say, don't do that. And the reason why I say don't sell to family and friends is because they're very biased. Family and friends can make you feel like they're doing you a favor when they're not actually doing you a favor. And it's actually not a true test of the value that they're creating. That's the truth. Feedback from family and friends is always more often than not biased. So you wouldn't know if your product is good or not. You wouldn't know if your product is bad. They will not give you real feedback on how your product or service is. They might not want to hurt your feelings. Do you understand all of those things? So avoid family and friends as much as you can. Now, test on very small marketing budgets. You want something, anyway, depending on what you're selling, I think most people, it's always easier to test your, I can say that everybody is online somehow today, now. I mean, I did an FX transaction with an outside guy the other day, and then I was expecting him to give me cash. No, he just said, okay, I'll transfer to you, Another day I was in traffic, I wanted to buy wipers for my car, and then I realized I didn't have money. And then there was an outside guy too, and I said, I'll go with the collect transfer now, we're in traffic. There was another day I parked my car, and there was this area boy that wanted to collect money from me, and I told him I didn't have money, and he said, I will collect, he said it in Yoruba, I will collect transfer. I said, oh, wow. So if it's taking transfers, maybe he has a smartphone or something. So I can say that almost everybody is online, in one way or the other, most people. And I'd assume most of the people you want to sell to are online as well. So you want to find a platform where you have the largest number of people that, where your largest customer base are. And I always say that there's this thing I call the power of 1,000 naira. Put your product out there, put your service out there, put $1,000 on any platform, on the social media platform where you think you're going to get the most traction, right? Put your product in front of people that you don't know. They will give you the realest feedback. They will give you the best feedback you can work with. They'll either come and tell you your product is expensive, your product is, this, your product is that. But I think, number one, you will take it less personal than if, your family member comes and tells you that your product is ish. Do you understand what I mean? You might not talk to that person again, and you might just not take it as just feedback. And then you might also want to defend yourself as well. But if somebody who doesn't know you just tells you, oh, your product is this, your service is that, you just want to take it as what it is, data point, right? So, you also want to look at the data and work with it. So, let's be practical here. I run a business, and I'm very deep into I'm very involved in the marketing, in the digital marketing of that business. So we set up some campaigns, and then we put some money on this, put some money on this, put some money on that. But then we realized that for every 1,000 impressions we got on a particular campaign, we were getting about 35% were taking the call to action, right? And for this other campaign that we're running, about 4% or 6% were taking the call to action. Nobody needed to tell us that we needed to move more money from the campaign that was getting a 4 to 6% call to action to the one that was getting the 35% call to action, because it was just very clear, this is working, this is resonating. Now that's the kind of feedback you want to get from people that you put offers out in. And then of course I also said rinse and repeat, which means when you see something that is working, please double down on it. And then if it's not working, please just abandon it. Again, don't be in love with the problem. Sorry, don't be in love with your solution to the problem. Be in love with the customer's problem. Love the customer's problem. And always look for ways to continuously solve the customer's problem. But then if you are too fixated on your own solution to the problem, you will have a solution that you are constantly trying to use to fit the customer's problem and not necessarily considering the customer's problem themselves. Now, when people want to buy from you, especially when they don't know you, they are also thinking, I don't know this person, how am I sure I'm going to get value for my money? How am I sure I'm going to get value for my money? So you want to help the customer as much as you can, make it easy for them to buy from you. So get into the mind of your customer. What are some of the risk factors that this customer is considering that your product or service might have to them? How can you, what's that word now? How can you eliminate the barriers to those risks? How do you answer some of the objections that the customers might have in their mind, even when they're not voicing those conversations to you? You want to be talking about it. So I'll give you an example. So because we run a marketplace platform, people call us sometimes. Sometimes calls, requests come in through calls and all of that. And then they say, how do I know? Okay, so we want to rent X, Y, Z. We want to rent lights, let's say lights from you, for instance. And we want to rent cameras, just whatever. And then the person is asking, how do I know you are going to send this item to us after you pay? Very valid question, right? And then the person maybe makes a suggestion and says, send the item and then I'll pay you when the item gets to me. And that's, you don't do that. You already incurred cost and all of that. But before the conversation gets to that, you're already answering the customer's question and say, oh, by the way, we also understand that you might not have known us other than the fact that you found us online. And because we understand that, there are trust issues, we're willing to let you pay 50%, right? And then when the item gets to you, you pay off the balance and all of those kind of things. Now, this is you just sort of like assuaging the customer. This is you just sort of like answering some of the questions that the customer might have up for that. Another thing that is also very important is you might want to, so because people have not known you, they've not interacted with you, they don't know how interesting your offer is, they don't know how amazing your product is. And I'm sure many of us have very interesting products and services, right? What you want to do is to get the customers to engage in your product. Now, there's a reason why software companies give us 30 days free, 60 days free. It's simply for them to experience, for people to experience their product, right? I mean, I always use this example. I bought a new phone recently, and I just saw the Spotify app on the phone. And they gave me 30 days free on the Spotify app. Was it 30 days or 90 days, And I mean, after the 90 days expired, I think it was 30 days. After the 30 days expired, I was on Spotify Premium. I went back to the regular Spotify, and the experience was just different. It was interrupted by ads. I couldn't skip too many songs and all of those kind of things. I went back to Spotify Premium. So can you create your product in a way that, or your service in a way that people get to experience your service, at almost zero cost to them, right? Once you eliminate give the customer an offer that the customer will be stupid not to take. Do you understand? But as much as you can, and that's why, for instance, a lot of car companies will tell you, come and take our car on a test drive, right? Drive the car. You want to see how the car feels, how the car performs, before you commit to buying. So can people actually test out your product, and people have an idea of the product or service before they then start committing to it? That's very key. All right. So beyond all of this is also understanding the game we're playing, right? And why I left this for the last. This is the last slide actually. Is because you also want to evaluate the business you're in, right? I'll use this analogy. I jog most mornings, and I jog very early in the morning, maybe like 5 a.m.-ish, thereabouts. And sometimes when I jog, I see people moving out of the estate where I live. Now, I have this analogy, right, that regardless of how fast I can jog, right, somebody who is riding a bicycle will move faster than I can, even if the person is a bad cycler. That makes sense, right? Now, if you have Louis Armstrong, who is maybe arguably one of the best cyclists in the world, right? Cycling, somebody who is riding a power bike would go, power bike is not so much, Okada, will go faster than Louis Armstrong, right? Now, if you have a really good Okada rider, and you have a bad vehicle, a bad car driver, right? The car driver would outpace, do you understand what I'm saying? The motorcycle rider, and then it goes on and on like that. Now, some of us need to think about the businesses that we run, right? And if you're like me, I always joke that I want to hammer. Whatever hammer is, that's it, right? But can your business deliver to you the kind of life you want to have, right? So before I started running Rentit, I was running a different business. And during the lockdown, I sat down and took an evaluation of the two things I was doing. And I realized that one, I'll be all right. The other one has the potential to scale infinitely, right? And I had to make up my mind where I wanted to be spending more of my time. Now, why I'm asking this is because if we look at market models, this is pure competition. Pure competition is everybody is doing the same thing. There's no differentiation, right? If you're in that kind of business, you really can't scale it, you really can't grow it. You're just going to wake up every day and it's one hustle after another. One very clear business in this space, and apologies if you're here and you're running that kind of business, but this is the idea of coming to places like this, is the dispatch business. The dispatch guys wake up every morning, customers shout at them because their packages are late. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you just keep doing this thing every time. Maybe you can scale it to the level of Okada. Yep, you know. But then again, if you're just doing the regular thing, which is you pick up packages, you drop them, pick up packages, you drop them, and you're not necessarily different from every other person, it's sort of like everybody's just running around in this same, I don't know, maybe for lack of a better word, rat race, right? And you want to think about it. Now, a monopolistic competition is barriers to entry, not that high, some level of differentiation, right? But not that much. So I said Nigerian fintech company. How many of us feel that there are too many fintechs in this country at the moment? I don't know. I feel that way. I might be wrong. But you know, they've been, since 2010, everybody has been trying to bank the unbanked and, I don't know. That narrative never gets old. Banking the unbanked, and I'm wondering, with the number of, sorry? I don't know, but it's a very good narrative, and I think investors love it anyway. Another thing, by the way, don't build your business for investors, build your business for customers. That's very key. And I'll tell you why. I mean, this is an aside. BPN now, which is one of the biggest, one of the biggest fintech setup in the last couple of years, they've lost about 88% of their market value globally. It just doesn't make any sense. But we're talking about your first 100 paying customers, right? So you want to make sure, you want to understand where you're playing. You want to make sure, are you playing in pure competition? Are you playing in monopolistic competition? Are you playing an oligopoly, right? Oligopoly basically is there's limited supply, barriers to entry is high. Do you understand? Now, you don't want to be in a business with very low barriers to entry, because what that then means is that the opportunity is obvious and people can easily jump into that opportunity. But now, there's also something very important in that. When you're in a space like, most of us will usually play in pure competition and monopolistic competition, usually, right? I mean, how many of us can set up a Nigerian, an earpiece and all of those kind of things, right? Why it's important for us to understand where we are playing is because in the space where we are playing, there are always opportunities to innovate, right? And if there's any book I'd recommend, one book that really changed how I started thinking about business is Blue Ocean Strategy. I think if you're an entrepreneur, you need to read that book, right? What then that means is that even in a crowded market, you can also start to find opportunities even in the crowded market. Matter of fact, the more crowded the market is, the more everybody looks like they're doing the same thing, the higher the chances that you can actually find some level of space in which you can innovate and own that niche, right? So I'll just do a quick recap. Everything about money, making money from your first 100 customers, everything starts and ends with that customer. I want to understand who is this customer. I want to understand very clearly what does this customer need, why is this customer buying this service or this product, how is this customer currently solving their problem. I want to understand I want to make a case for why this customer should buy from me as against buying from somebody else. All right, I want to understand where I can find this customer. I want to understand what's the language that this customer is speaking, right? And how I can engage this customer to get them to part with their money. And more importantly, at the end of the day, when you finally get this customer to buy from you, then the journey just begins for you, right? Because they've shown that they've shown that they can trust you. And what you want to do is actually, milk that trust, not milk in a negative way, but positively milk that trust, engage them, and continue to deliver value. And I hope that you'll be able to get beyond 100 customers. Hopefully you can scale, get 100,000 and hopefully 100 million customers. Thank you.
All right, so I don't know if anybody has questions. You can just take 3 questions at most. So if you have any questions, you can. No questions. Okay. All right, so we'll start with the next person pitching, or the first person to pitch. So thank you. So the first person to pitch is Segun Thomas pitching from So you can come up. Between office and it's very. I think you should just maybe you can come up, but you can just maybe a few seconds so that your slides can come up.
Yeah. Do I give this?
No, don't worry. I have it.
This is Alright, good evening everyone. My name is Segun Thomas and I'm here with my partner and I'll be talking to you about OfficeAjo. Next to this. Over again. If I may ask, how many of us have had to get a loan? Friends, family, loan sharks and what have you. How many of us? Just a short name. Since we're all rich, right? Alright, anyways, you can see here from Nairametrics, before you go, right? A number of people, especially in the workplace, right, have had to get a loan from friends, from families, right? Only 9% have had to resort to going to the bank or any of the, I wouldn't call them loan sharks, cooperatives and what have you. Now, I would like to just show us a brief about who we are. Can you just play it, please? So it's a video, and that summarizes who we are. Can you please play it? Alright, so even from the name itself, I'm sure we can really have some sort of idea as to what OfficeAjo is, right? So, OfficeAjo. Ajo is common, depending on what part of the country you come from. The southwest is known as Ajo. In the east is known as Isusu, right? In different parts of the world, it's called different names, right? Generally, it's known as ROSCA, Rotating Savings Credit Association or Application, as the case may be, right? Now, who we are. OfficeAjo is a platform as a service, right? So it connects employees across different organizations to come together and contribute in terms. So you would agree with me that in today's Nigeria, one, we're battling with interest rates, we're battling with inflation. The fact remains that your earning is not commensurate to how you spend, right? So if you go to the market today, what you bought for 100 naira yesterday is not the same anymore. Now, the fact is this, consumption is constant. Now, how do you ensure that you still have to consume without having to unnecessarily or expensively borrow? And that's where we come in. So, OfficeAjo brings employees from different organizations together, and then you can contribute and take funds in turn. So, this is an age-long concept. When you go to the market, it is predominant in the informal sector. What we have simply done is to bring this to the workspace. Now, what are the problems? Now, if you've ever had to do an job, because I've had to do that a lot, right? There are times where I need to pay my rent, and then all I do is just to join an job, and I say to myself, at the end of this very period, I'll take the job and then pay my rent. Right. Now, these are some of the problems you experience if you've ever had to do an job. One, first and foremost, lack of access to cheap capital. Like I said, if you have to borrow, you know what it is really if you want to borrow. Now, two, delay in payment. right? Anybody can come up with stories. Typically what happens is that you have somebody who is more or less like an admin, who pulls people together, and then the person has to engage with you, where's your own contribution and all of that, and anything can happen, right? Now, 3 is security. This guy can, anything, I mean, even if he has that integrity, he could die tomorrow, or anything. So how do you ensure that your contribution is safe? How do you ensure that your hard-earned money is in the right place, and then whenever you need it, you can call for it? Insurance. So let's even assume that you have people of integrity who come together and then start contributing. Anything can happen. Like I said, this guy loses his job, or this guy suddenly dies, or is ill. So what do you do at that point in time? Lack of robust trust measures. So next slide, please. Now, what have we done? Now, the problems highlighted are what we've addressed. So first and foremost, if you've ever had to get a loan, you have a credit history. Now, typically, the banks, this is how the banks work. When you come to say, I need a loan, they subject you to, a credit risk. They look at what you have to get a loan in time pass. And then when they see that, okay, you've been performing, they give you a loan, right? So same thing, we get credit data on you. Now, aside that, we know that for the fact that you've not defaulted in time past does not mean you're not going to default into the future, right? So how do we de-risk ourselves? How do we ensure that there is sanctity in the system? Now, we onboard your organization and as well you. So if you work for a corporate organization, the fact remains that whenever you're paid, it carries the name of the organization in your bank account. If you go and print your bank account, your employer's name will show on your bank statement. So we onboard the organization and we equally onboard you. Now the next thing is, we know that beyond the fact that you have been onboarded as a person or your organization, another thing that can happen is what is beyond your own even control, which is any of this, death and what have you. Now what happens at that point in time? An insurance comes in, and then last but not the least, we know that typically you have to, put in your financial information on a system you don't know. So how trustworthy is this system? Now we have a 3FA verification system that ensures, what you can find in any of the fintechs. Next slide, please. Now, this is what you stand to gain when you come on OfficeAjo. First and foremost, you have access to cheap capital. You don't need to go to the bank or any of the loan sharks to get a loan. 2, it is borderless. So typically with Ajo, you have to know somebody who knows somebody. So you just don't come in. I need to recommend you to say, yes, it's my friend, it's my family. Now, what typically that does is it places a limitation. So if I have to say, oh, I am capable of contributing 200,000, right? So you have to meet 2 things. 1, you need to be capable of meeting that. Number 2, you need to be trustworthy. So these 2 issues we've addressed. 1, so it is borderless, irrespective of where you, as long as you are an employee of an organization, any part of Nigeria you can actually join. Then the interesting thing is that the last set of people, so if we happen to be 10 people here and we join in the contribution, right? The 10th person really, I can as well just choose to save on my own, put my money in the bank, I get the same amount. It doesn't make any business sense for me. Now, the last set of people, 3, the 3rd, the 4th, and the last person, so 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, these persons get an interest on their contribution because the real beneficiaries of an Ajo are the first set of people who pick, right? So you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of that. And then we insure you. So today, I stand to be corrected, there is no employer in Nigeria that insures anyone. Sorry? So I said, I stand to be corrected, no employer today insures you.
That's wrong.
No, I mean, not health insurance.
That's wrong.
Okay?
No, he says he stands to be corrected.
Okay.
I'm correcting you.
I want to correct the way you just say.
Okay, so what health insurance can I ask you?
Most organizations have at least a minimum of group life insurance. Yes, I said a minimum. Most organizations, even small scale organizations now, they have GPA, which is group personal accident, or group life insurance, which covers them against. They give them 3 times their annual salary.
Startups.
So,
Sorry? A lot of startups. Yeah.
when you lose your job, does this cover it? When the person dies, does this cover it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Death in line of duty. Yes, absolutely.
It covers accidents, line of duty.
Okay, what about job loss? Does it cover it?
In Nigeria, generally, it's called job loss insurance. So that job loss insurance is that normally what it covers is that they pay you your salary for like 6 months or a year.
I know.
Right now, there's no insurance company in Nigeria that does that.
Yeah, I mean,
I know. I went by and asked.
All right, that's fine. Please to the next slide. So benefits to employees, like I said, access to cheap capital, saves time and efficiency, is convenient, and it's trustworthy. Next slide, please. Now, this is not just for employees, right? It's for employers. A number of times, we typically have what you call employee loans or salary advance. So people get to run into the organization to say, you know what, can I quickly draw from my salary and all of that. But the fact remains that these organizations can actually channel the same funds into something meaningful, something productive, right, that will give them returns. Now, depending on your organization, you might imagine an organization like Shell, and then you have some sort of pool of funds where your employees can draw into. The fact remains that if you have something like this, you don't need to commit your own funds into giving them some sort of salary advance. They can key into this, and you become more productive as an organization. Next slide, please. So you can imagine the number of SMEs, for instance, we have in Nigeria, over 41 million, right? From the Nigeria Consumer Lending Euromonitor 2021 report, right? You can see the number of people who belong to the medium to low income strata. Now, if you look at the competitive analysis, I'm sure perhaps some of us must have heard about, Ajo Money, Ajo, and all. But it's a space that is just coming up, right? So it's an alternative form of financing. Now, if you look at all of this platform, right, there is none that gives you, first and foremost, insurance cover, right? Number two, it is limited in the sense that if you go on Ajo Money or Ajo now, right, you start with probably 5,000, 10,000, then you need to be the last person in number of bottlenecks, right? But for us, what we have simply done is to route these two organizations. As long as you are paid by an organization that is registered, and then we can see how long you've been in business and all of that, you can come on the platform, right? So you don't have any some sort of barrier like you do with other platforms. Please. Okay, so before I quickly bring us back here, can you flip? This is how it works, I'll show us, but I don't want to really waste so much time on this. So this is our business operation, this is our flow. So first and foremost, you create an account, you log in, select your goal amount. So, I can say to myself that I need an Ajo for $1 million, right? It could be with 5 people, it could be 10 people, and all of that. So you choose, and then you see the number of ways you can actually, join and achieve this your goal, and you select your organization. So in the event that you don't have your organization onboarded, you put in, so you click not available, and then you can see a drop box which allows you put in your name of the organization. Of course, you put in your credit details because from that we deduct you, and then your usual KYC. Now this is our pricing model, right? Typically we have a flat rate of 5% on every payout. So, however, we know that, like I said, if you happen to be from 9 to 12, it does not make any sense for you anymore, really, because you can as well be picking your phone. The real beneficiaries are people who get to pick from first to probably, depending on the group, right? First, let's say a group of 12, first to 8, they are the real beneficiaries of our jobs. So, at this point, if you happen to be the 12th person, you can see that we are having like a +1 to whatever your contribution is. Now, strategic partner. So the funds sit with Providence Bank, every fund that comes in through an Ajo. Now, when you come on the platform, automatically, once you sign up, you automatically get an account with Providence Bank. Leadway is actually our insurance partner. Mono collects your statement of account in real time in the event that, you don't have your statement of account at hand. Paystack as well helps fetch the fund, verify me for your KYC and what have you. Now, these are the companies we've onboarded. This is the team. Now, this is what is in the works. Now, the concept for us is just like you have abroad. Abroad is a credit-based system, right? It's a sound credit system. You drive a car, you use anything, right? It's on credit. Why can't we replicate that here? It's a challenge for us. Now, for us, we want the quality of life for employees to be that suited. That's our goal. And that's why we are coming up with this concept to see, first and foremost, you don't borrow at ridiculous rates. 2, whenever you borrow and then you get from us, you can as well channel into buy now, pay later. Now, these are the people who have had to use us. And most importantly for us, OfficeAjo keys into Goal 8 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, which is to promote decent work and economic growth, not just in the workplace, but across the entire Nigeria and beyond. Thank you. So, That's us. Follow us. By the way, we just we are more or less in beta, right? So hopefully by the end of the year and the beginning of the next year, we should go public. All right. Thank you.
So we are going to be taking questions now, and we'll take a few questions before we move on to the next question.
All right.
So if you have questions, you're in the answer.
Right, I have one question already.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So, the first thing I have to say is not even a question, it's just a commentary. So when you are introducing the company, you introduce that as a platform, as a service. So I just want to offer a commentary. So I think it's best to introduce that as a product instead of a platform as a service, so that it doesn't create that confusion on what's in the cloud. Platform as a service is something very different.
Okay.
Yeah, so now, the second question I have is, or rather the question now is, you presented a lot of very good USPs, but then I understand too that some companies like you mentioned Shell, they also have their own cooperative societies within the organizations. So I'm taking that this may pose a challenge to your organization. So my question is, are you experiencing this challenge and how are you dealing with it?
Absolutely, we're experiencing it. That's why we're focused on SMEs, right? So people, organizations with not so much in terms of staff strength. So the likes of Shell and what have you, right? They have a very large corporation. So it's more or less a serious competition. We faced that. Some central said, you know what, don't go near this. It's a business people are already feeding into. So even though our value proposition is very clear, when you borrow from any of the cooperative, you borrow at a minimum of 8%. Aside that, you only get twice of whatever you have contributed. So if you need £1 million, for instance, you need to have contributed 500,000 before you can get the million. But the Ajo concept is entirely different. You can as well key into £1 million now, and then maybe the another stance, you happen to be the first or the second person. So you're getting that, financial goal you have in real time, faster than you will ever get.
All right, so this is the last question. So the last question, when you were presenting too, you mentioned that, when you're running us through how the application interface works, there was a place where I saw that someone has to put their credit card details or stuff like that. So my question is, under what license are you operating on? Or rather, let me even ask, are you processing the credit card information yourself, or are you using a third-party processor?
We're using a third party.
That's fine.
That's why I have to show us our strategic partners. Right. And to answer your question in terms of what license do we have, because we knew who we'll be dealing with, we know our target audience, these are people who are enlightened. So the first thing we did was, because we know we're into the business of trust and confidence. So what we did was to even get a license. We have a cooperative license, and by the Act of Cooperative Act 2004, we have what it takes. It enables us to do what we're doing. Aside that, we know that the regulatory environment changes from time to time, and that was why we entered into a partnership with Providence Bank. So we are leveraging on their own license as a commercial bank, because anybody who comes, you automatically gets a Providence virtual account. And we're also in the process of trying to see how, at the end of the day, you can get an ATM card customized OfficeAjo Providence Bank. So from the regulatory point of view, we are doing it.
You said you're a registered corporation.
All right.
Yes.
Is that disclosed in when
Please,
people
can you please, can you? I know I. Aha. Yes.
Yeah, but because you can see that it's a company, you can see OfficeAjo Technologies Limited, and then you need to put a cooperative name as well.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
You put OfficeAjo Technologies Limited. That's what this is about.
Yes.
But then you're saying you're taking funds as a cooperative. Those are two separate entities.
Absolutely. So the cooperative license.
What is the corporate entity and cooperative?
Okay, so with the cooperative is called Center South Multipurpose Cooperative. So it's a vehicle like some sort of SPV
They can use a cooperative society as an SPV. So that's what I'm telling you. The last chunk of the corporate structure that people do, it's possible to incur liability for this. If you're saying it's a company and then there is a cooperative, what you can then do is the cooperative is the main vehicle while the company is the technology service provider. That's what you can do, but you cannot say the cooperative is the vehicle for the company. That's not allowed.
Okay.
You have to consider that.
Okay, fine. So I take that as a feedback. Because our partners, that was what they demanded of us first and foremost.
yes, that is required, but I'm saying that it's the other way around.
Okay.
Not the company, using the cooperative, but the cooperative using the company. Because if the funds, whatever happens to it, it's not the company that will be sued. It's the cooperative society.
Absolutely.
And so when you're contracting between the users, they're not contracting with the company. They're contracting with the cooperative. They are registering as members of the cooperative society. They become members bound by, and then you have your rules available on your website.
Yes. We have
all those things, because you have not terms of service. I'm saying the cooperative rules itself.
Okay, no, we don't.
You see, so that these are issues you have to then put in place. You have to make sure that it's properly done. A lot of people do it, and I'll tell you quite frankly, and that's why I just advise people, look, it will fly. Some people say, bills regulate later. That's not true. But the truth is, if I put money here and then
no, you have to do right. Like I said, the first thing you understand was,
so I'm just advising you. So you have to go back to that, look at it. It's not just a temple service and privacy policy. That's not right. You have to make sure that the rules that guide the corporate society as you register it, where you register it. Right? Assuming local government, you have to make sure the rules that guide the corporate society is available. You have to make people understand that when they are signing up, they are not signing up to the company, but they are signing up as members of that cooperative society. That has to be clearly stated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So, yes, sir.
Okay, you presented a great idea from what I saw, but you spoke about a future feature that is a BNPL, buy now pay later, and in the buy now pay later space, I've seen that there is a storm sweeping away a number of buy now pay later solutions, including Kana. Kana was valued around $46 billion, and something happened. The valuation reduced to $6 billion, the salary fund, and so on and so forth. So how do you plan to keep yourself safe, keep your company safe from the common stock following the NPL company? Or do you have a different model that can protect you against the whole event?
To answer your question, that's why we have it as working through, like what we have to know. So we have really, in terms of the nitty-gritty, to explore, the loopholes and all of that. For now, we've really not exhausted that. Like we're just saying, what, this is the next thing we have to do. So we've not really explored. That's why we've not even, laid hands on it. So we want to push this out first, and then we roll out that. So thank you for the feedback. So this is something we're going to internalize while we, fully work on it. So, but for now, still there.
Okay. So just to add, I think your question is more around valuations.
No. Like how, what is the model of the company to protect itself against the whole disaster befalling the buy now pay later companies? Because a significant number of them are they are holding up the country a lot of issues. I think people are getting goods or whatever they are selling and not paying. So that is the main issue.
Absolutely. And that's why if you look at our model, first and foremost, one key component to the risk ourselves is you are more or less a member of an organization. So we onboard the organization, even though it's not necessary when you want to join an agent that you have to have the organization. But by the time we float, buy now, pay later, you must have your organization onboarded, right? And if you look at what we do, we ensure that, can you play that how it works? So we ensure that it's typically banking concept. We ensure that I don't get more than 33%, contribute more than 33% of your earnings, because we know you have responsibility. So if you earn 100,000 for instance, you can't do an job more than 33,000. So it's a way of de-risking ourselves. So you could have someone earn 100,000, he tells you I want to join an job 150. How do you, you can't afford that. So you have to bring a statement of account, we see what you earn, and then you know that this is what fits for you. So for the BNPL, absolutely your organization needs to be onboarded, because that's, more or less a step for us to de-risk ourselves.
Yes, so you see that's not actually de-risking yourself per se. Because if you consider that what he's saying is right, what he's talking about is not even about the onboarding of the user, he's talking about post. That's enforcement. So if somebody in fact is sacked for gross misconduct, the organization will see out all possible liabilities with that person, then how do you then enforce? you have to consider that money is if you do not want to lose that amount of money, you have to consider it's not about onboarding, it's about post. That is after the person has taken that money, what is going to be done to recover? Do you use a guarantor system? Do you use if it is the insurance? Like you say, there is a mandatory insurance. When you're paying 23%, there is a 1.5% service charge, which goes to the insurance company as premium. And then that's fine. That's the way you de-risk it. It's not about the body, it's about the insurance.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Yeah, so if you look at what I presented there, so it starts from first and foremost looking at your credit history, it moves on to the fact that you're a staff of an organization. Next thing, it moves to insurance. But we know that there is no business, you can't be 100%. It's just to manage the risk.
Yeah,
right?
but you say with insurance. Pardon? With insurance, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm an advocate for insurance, obviously, because I believe insurance is very important.
Yeah.
So if you're insuring them, in your pricing model, you could make it mandatory.
It is
As if you're paying, you said that 3%.
Yes.
And so you say, okay, there is an additional cost. The insurance company knows that you have what we call risk adjusters. The people who determine liability.
Yeah.
So they will tell you, they will look at possible risk. They will look at the numbers that are attributed to know, okay, if you want to insure 100,000, this is what we take for premium. Then pass on that premium to the customers.
Yes.
And then once you do that, the insurance company, you then effectively remove the liability for that amount and then pass it on to the insurance company. If there is no liability, then we don't find the insurance company makes money. But if there's liabilities, then they pay you.
Absolutely, thanks. Anyways, that's what it is, but it's just that we have not explored what he's talking about. But from the agile point of view, exactly as you explains what it is, right? So from the regulation to the insurance in the event of any of these things. All right.
Yeah, quick question. I want to just find out about the financial aspect. You said you are going public very soon. I want to know when you launch and what are the revenue being like, and what are your plans projection?
You want to invest in us? So I'm going to take that out there, right? Because that's from a viewpoint of investing package, right? So I think I can take that out. Anyways, I would like also to see how it works. Please, can you just quickly show it and play it so that we have a beyond all that I've said. It's just a very short video, 3 minutes. Please, can you the volume, please? And please follow us. Go on the platform, OfficeAjo, on the major platforms, please. Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome and thank you for watching this video. Today I'll be taking you through step-by-step process to sign up on the OfficeAjo platform. On my extreme right-hand corner of the screen, on the topmost corner of the screen, you will find the sign up tab. So just hit on the sign up tab. Right? So just put in your email address. Now for the sake of this, we will be using this email address. Now it is asking.
Sorry, there's a bit of mix-up. This is more or less how to sign up, not how it works. Sorry for that mix-up.
Okay, so do you have any other questions?
I was about to ask how you're going to effectively handle verification. So you mentioned the credit scores and all of that, but you also mentioned that you're targeting smaller companies, smaller entities, right? So, I stand corrected, but I don't know how many Nigerians actually have actual credit scores.
Actual what?
Credit scores. Like people who they probably never take me loan before. The job they do is mostly offline. They just send money to themselves after. So, when someone defaults payment, how you're going to handle it? I think you talked about insurance just now, but I'm more concerned about the whole credit scoring thing because I know it's still a bit tricky, and I know that the likes of Carbon, Fairmoney, they are building their own credit database as they are going. They're actually making lots of losses and just doing things as it comes. And the credit bureaus like CRC, they are quite expensive to actually make API calls from them. So I'm actually curious how you're going to handle that whole verification process with employees, especially with smaller organizations.
Okay, so when I say small, I do not mean one-man company like 3-man company, 4-man
10
company.
people, 12 people.
No, not necessarily. We're looking at between 30 to 100. Not even that small. So, I mean, we're talking about companies with, revenue size of about 100 million and more than, right? We're not targeting the high end because we know even the bureaucracy in the system, we don't have time for that. Now, to your question, how do we address credit risk, right? Like I said, if you've been in the workplace, white collar job, right? If you've never gotten a loan, right, that's why I had to ask first and foremost, have you ever had to get a loan, right? If you've never gotten a loan, the fact remains that you work for an organization, right? Now, when you work for an organization, we have partners. If you look at the terms and conditions sheet on the platform, even though we are not going the route of the loan sharks, that publish your name or write to people and all that, but on that terms and conditions sheet where you take, it says to us that in the event of a default and we try to reach you, we can as well come to your organization, we notify your organization. And of course we don't want that. It becomes embarrassing when you hear, let's say, 100,000 and then you're defaulting for 30,000. We have to write to your organization.
What's the best example?
we know that. Like I said, you can't eliminate the risk 100%. We know. So you have to yourself, look at the banks for instance today. So look at the banks for instance. In spite of all of these things you're talking about, do you know how fast the banks are growing? So you can't totally eliminate risk, but what you can do is just to manage the risk.
You have the numbers and default. You have like an assessment. An assessment of the levels of default, like percentages. I mean, you can look at the quantitative of possible default. Don't get me wrong, this loan chart that you're talking about. Yes, of course, the system is bad, but you see, it has an underlying, premise that is very valid. Social capital. They rely on social capital. If you implement the level of social capital into this, when I work, I know the riffraffs in my office that will not pay. You understand? If you key in my own repayment or the possibility of me getting funded to the other people in my office, for example, then we sort of become responsible for each other. And there is a sort of checks and balances in that organization. That is just a way to also weed out. Then you can say, look, they will tell you, I don't like this girl, make a good day myself. Do you understand? You can sort of do that, but you need that social capital. The people around you, they are the best people they are the ones that know these people. So you also still need to implement a level of social capital into the product. Because that's one of the best ways to be able to manage.
One thing we've not actually mentioned is for debt recovery, there's a debt recovery company called Debt Recover that handles defaults, when things like this happen. Because like you said, you can't exactly get rid of the risk. It's always going to be there. So we have a partnership with Debt Recover, which is in principle for now. So they would go, we supply them with APIs and KYCs, and they go into these companies and they're able to get, that's their business model, that's their business. They're able to get these debts back from defaulting customers, and then of course, there's a commission.
But do you know what system they use to recover the debts?
Well, they definitely, they told us how they go about it.
Because you have
to
it's
outsourced.
So you then have to consider privacy policy rules. Whether you are allowed to provide. See, a large chunk of these things is very.
I know. So from a legal point of view, really, because we don't have a legal team yet. So we don't. So we don't have a legal team yet. So all of this we know. The legal team are definitely here. Oh, I can see your shirt. Don't worry.
So I think the points the guy is making is really valid, where you have to get people to be responsible for other people, because you want to check that the environment that you're dealing with. I read a post where someone borrowed 500,000 naira from someone, and they said, okay, you've got 500,000 naira in your bank account, would you pay? And more than 90% of the people there said they will never pay. Someone even says, if you involve the police, I will give part of the money and I'm never going to pay again. Now, and I'm also in a discussion with someone who was an operation manager for Lapo, and they have a very good recovery rate. And we started digging in, why do they have this good recovery rate? It's not because they are not like all those other loan shark people, but the thing is that differentiates them is that they actually give out money in groups. So they have market women who have an association. So that way, if they give you, you don't want to default, you don't want to lose face with the people in your group, and that's why they pay back. So I feel that if you're involving organization, like people have to be accountable somehow. That's how you can recover your money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very, very clear because we did a study in Abuja. We did a test case with market women in Dubai. We stressed exactly what she said. You have somebody in the market that is responsible, that makes sure that all the other people, because you know, when we are giving, we give out 20,000 per week. So you give you 20,000 this week, you pay back next week. If you don't pay back, then there is no funds for that market to then supply to other people that need it. So you see people in the market will be going half an hour. But the guy in the market say, you never pay, we say won't collect money. No, half hour, go pay your money so that we say we need benefit. And then when you pay back, you then, when you're able to, when you pay back 2-3 weeks, then you then increase your threshold. Instead of 20,000, you can then get 20,000. But everybody in that market is aware of this. We did it for a while, just testing. And we lost that time. We lost some money, don't get me wrong. Still lose. It was really effective. Yeah, of course. I will give you that.
Sorry, let me just say something. Alright, I love to stand here. Sorry, I don't really want to say something again so that we can move on to board. Let me just contribute. So I'm really a bit confused now because I thought I understood the model earlier. But from the discussion we just had recently, I think the model is shifting from what I understood earlier to something else. Yeah, so if I understood it very well, your target market is actually the SMEs, people who are salary earners, and it's a digital product, and the person signs up online. And from my own understanding, the person at the end of the month, when the person receives his or it's automatically deleted from their account. So I don't really see this issue of debt recovery coming in here because you've already de-risked yourself by, contracting an insurance company. So you've transferred that risk. So which now kicks in if the person loses his or her. Because the only situation where the person stops earning salary is when the person loses his or her, or the person dies, or just something happens and the person stops earning. But if your insurance policy covers situations where the person, if this person stops earning, that is when the recovery now comes in. So I don't see the issue of going after someone when the fund is, when the contribution
policy. It cannot be his insurance policy. It's an insurance policy of the user. It's the user that pays the premium. It's the user that has the insurance policy. He cannot contract with the insurance company on behalf of the user. So that's the user that has to pay. Then when the user defaults, you then go to the insurance company and say, this person that you insured has defaulted. Pay us our money, then the insurance company goes after the user. But then they are now become rules, privacy rules and data protection rules with respect to that information. Except if it is the user that contracts directly, that's fine.
So aside, in addition to what you said, right, there are people questioning character. Yes, I work with this organization, right? What if I go and change my bank statement, my salary account, all of this? It's possible. You're seeing that place of
No, it's possible.
but you decided to exactly, and you decided to block any form of like, okay, you know what, change my salary account, you change your ATM card, all sort of things, right? It's possible. In that case, what happens? So it's not a question of, because insurance comes in when any of these things happen, but it's still in that place of what nothing has happened to you. So what happens? Right? How do you do it? So and that's where the office
is fine. I guess it's up to you to
just to work on it. Not just to work on it now. That's what this is for, I guess.
Absolutely.
Right. So thanks so much. We are running out of time. So you have two people who have to preach. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So the next person to preach is Olamilekan for MyHostel. So let's come up here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olamilekan from MyHostel. I'm the CEO and founder of MyHostel. So what is MyHostel? MyHostel is an accommodation listing platform for students of various institutions in Nigeria, actually. So we realize that Nigerian institutions do not provide accommodation for all their students. like say, well, okay, 49% only provide accommodation for the students that they actually are. Leaving the rest, students have to secure accommodations on their own. Sometimes falling in the fraudsters who take their money and then not provide accommodation. Sometimes they get duped. House agents charge them more money than what is supposed to be. So that's why we created MyHostel to be an accommodation platform where you come there, you see houses, accommodation there, you book and you pay on our platform usually. So that's just the issue we're trying to address. So aside just coming on our platform to search for accommodation and to book, we also realize that there are credit issues where a student does not have enough money to pay for enough accommodation, and then we decided to introduce a platform where we can give you credit facilities to pay your accommodations, your rent monthly. That's rent now, pay later. So I can break it down for you to pay monthly. That's there also. So this next slide. I've explained this next slide. Okay, our market acquisition, I think I've explained this as well. So I just brushed everything because of them that we have. So student accommodate, I don't know if you know student accommodate, this is just our market size. Raised 1.8 just to do purpose housing for students or institutions. And then digital landlord and real estate growth in Africa is about $169 billion. And then we are capitalizing on just 10% of this market. Next. So this is our product. Our product is a mobile application where when you want to register, you put in your school, your name, and then it fetches accommodations around your school area. So you select, you look at the pictures, then you can also request for inspection, which is at zero cost. You can request for inspection. After inspection, then you pay on the platform as well. So when you pay on the platform, we pay the landlords, and then you can check into whatever hostel that you want to check into. We're also providing a management system for every house owners, where you can see the number of students that are taking your house, when is the next rent due for each of the students. In case there's any issue, you can get their contacts to call them, okay, I need this issue, they are reporting at this and that. So aside just creating a platform for the students, we're also creating a management platform for every house owners. So currently we are better, and we hope to launch next month because we just dropped our waitlist with over 100 users, and then we are starting with 2 major states in Nigeria, which is Lagos and Kwara. In Lagos State, we've been able to onboard property owners around Akoka, like Catalyst and so on. And then in Ilorin, majorly, which is Kwara State, in Ilorin, we are trying to onboard the all private hostels in Ilorin, because Ilorin, University of Ilorin does not have a school-owned accommodation usually. So it's private hostel owners that are in Ilorin. So we're trying to onboard those private owners as well, so that students from anywhere, majorly, you get admissions in Ilorin, you live in Lagos, you don't know anybody in Ilorin, you can actually, from your comfort zone, book inspection, book accommodation on the go. If you don't have enough money to do that, we also give you credit facilities and enable you to pay monthly rent. And in doing that, we are partnering with PayFi. I don't know if you heard of MyPayFi. It's a buy now pay later platform. So we're integrating with MyPayFi to give us that credit facility. And we also have a series of verification. Before we give you out our property, you have to verify, you have to tell us, you have to put in your student ID card, you have to, if you don't have a student ID card, you're a new student, you have to give us your admission letter, scan your admission letter as well, so that we can know actually you are a student. Aside just, anybody can just come to us and say you're a student and then you book accommodation. Next. Okay, this product, okay, there's a chat system that enables you to chat with the hostel owners, our own agents. Also, we are trying to create a roommate pattern where, okay, I want to rent this house, I don't have enough money, I need somebody to join up with me so that we can partner to rent the house. So we're also creating a roommate platform where you can find somebody on the platform to share the accommodation with as well. Okay, business model. We take 5% commission off every property on our platforms. 5%, and the 5% is charged 2% on the landlord, 3% on the students. This is 10% of available market. Then proceed from syndicate advertisement and sponsorship. Aside just this, our motto is home away from home. We are planning to make your stay in school very comfortable by also providing internet, anything that make your living away from home very comfortable, like laundromats, internet, and all sorts of that. And all these things are things that you can access via mobile app. Next. Market adoption, I've talked about that. We have target tertiary institutions, Unilorin, University of Lagos, Yaba College of Technology, Kwara State University. All these we already have we partner with property owners around those areas. Student bodies also, we have discussion with various student bodies to integrate to ease our movement into their school. Provision of advantage. Next. Competition. So who are our competition? Our major competition are local agents. Local agents are major competition, and these are actually people that we are trying to, I won't say put out of market usually. We're not trying to put them out of market, we're just trying to use technology to ease the process. Local agents charge agreement and commission on all these students. You can hear house rent is 100, agreement 50, commission 50, that's 100. That's even more than the amount you're paying for the house itself. So these are the people that we are competing with, and they are the ones that we're trying to use technology to ease out of the system. And then we have, we also have Kwetu. Kwetu is not in Nigeria, it's in Kenya. So what Kwetu does is they build the purpose hostels themselves. They build themselves, and they take investment from people to build, and then they build hostels for the students. Kwetu. Next. Competition advantage, we are first to market for traction based. Generate revenues from other additions to ease of use. Mobile app is very easy. You register, put your school details and everything, and it source all accommodations around your school area with. It will also give you kilometer distance to your school, like that, so that you can know what to do. You search, you have pictures, you have videos, check the apartment based on the one that you see. You have descriptions and every other thing available there. Then you can decide to book, pay, as we've seen it. Shareability, okay, defining roommate, and you can also build profiles of the roommates that you are paying, so that I'm a Nigerian student, I also want a Nigerian student to partner with me, so you can build the profiles of the roommates you are trying to pay. Okay, my team, I'm the founder and CEO. My friend here is a co-founder and CEO, and then we have the lead developer. Actually, I think this slide is right now we're about a staff of 10. Team of 10 currently. Yes. Our user insight, Funab, a student from Funab Abeokuta said, my hostel will actually help us to solve issues of going through stress when securing accommodation. From Illinois, he said it will really help us reduce all these agent fee and inspection fees that we are charged. And then a parent said, parents like myself will be able to book accommodation ahead for their students, for their child or what, who is going far away from where they are to secure accommodation. So our financials, okay, currently we are trying to seek initial pre-seed fund of 100K in general. Next. Best case scenario, we are just market with listing platform for students. Realistic success rate, you just take 20% of total listings, and then worst case scenario is you just remain a listing platform. So aside of this, majorly what we ourselves are trying to do is seek investment to build these hostels ourselves. This real estate market is very large, very wide. It's an untapped gold mine in Nigeria. Nigerian institutions will continue annually take students in yearly, and the government, I'm very sure, cannot provide enough accommodation for the number of students that they take in yearly. So thereby leaving private hostels owners, the market to build hostels for them. So this is a very sure. Next. This is old traction anyway, but I'm still going to say few possible consultancy with 2 institutions, but now it's about 5 institutions: University of Lagos, Java College of Technology, Federal Technical College, Akoka, University of Ilorin, Kwara State University. Parent company, we then registered. We are now at NLC, and then our mobile app is at beta stage. Actually, it was ready then, but we had new integration, so we had to push it back to our beta stage. So we have our waitlist. Our waitlist is currently we have 100 users waiting to use, and we hope by next month we should be up the market. Next. That's all. Alright. So that's just that on my hostel. Yeah.
So, sorry, before you start with the questions, we're taking only 5 questions from you. So, if you want to ask questions, 1, 2, 3, 2 more people, 4, and 5. Alright, so, Chief, let's start with you.
Okay, so I have some questions to ask you. First one.
Very important decision. Some or one.
You have 1 slot.
How? Wait.
One question. Okay, so first and foremost, why mobile app? Why not make it
web-based?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how to put this. Every student now, according to our research, every student owns an mobile phone that has internet. So either an Android, not every student, like I think 70% here, according to our research, 70% of students have a smartphone.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, yes, students.
Okay.
As 70% of them has a smartphone. And in fact, majority of the things you use today, it's easier for you to use a mobile app than going to the website.
Okay, so
it's easier for you to use mobile app than going to the
personally
website.
for me,
Yeah.
I've tried to use platforms like this, but not in Nigeria to get the place. I didn't need to download the app, right? And I shared with my friends. And they were able to get that.
So the reason why you are downloading our app is after securing accommodation, it's not all. Do you understand? It's not all. You are going to spend more than like 4 years in that institution. You pay bills. There's a part that allows you to pay your electricity bill, your internet bill, because you said we are going to be providing other proposed stuff like laundromat and electricity.
Then you talked about inspection. Is it why not make it visual? Like I could stay from anywhere.
You can see it from anywhere. There's pictures, there's video, but you know Nigerian trust issues. I still want to see what I'm taking. So we have our agents who are 100% of ground to take you there too, and at zero cost.
Okay, so I know a guy. Sorry, guys. So just take this. So I know a guy you mean that does what you're doing, but he doesn't have an app, he doesn't have a website. He's completely running it offline. And a lot of people keep chasing him to get accommodations like this. Now, instead of pushing those guys out of the market, why not build a synergy to onboard them to your platform, right? Instead of seeing them as a competitor.
Yeah, that's why I said we have hostel management platform aside just this mobile app. We have an hostel management platform that you yourself can register as an agent or as a landlord. Do you understand? So aside just this mobile app for the students, we also have that part. It's called MyHostel Partner. It's called MyHostel Partner. We have that partnership dashboard for agents and landlords as well, where you can manage. You don't have to do that from us. You can manage your apartments on your own.
So, alright, sorry.
Yeah, so that's where my question comes in.
Alright.
Do you managing you're allowing these people to manage their house on their own, and you say it's commission based, right? And you said you provide internet for all houses that you allow these people to manage. Am I correct?
Yeah.
If you allow me manage my house on my own, why do I need you?
Why do you need us?
Yes.
Okay, so the why I will explain to you. Let me say we have the probability of reaching ladder audience than you. Do you know? We have probability of reaching ladder audience than you. That's one. And then when we say manage your hostel,
Sure. Wait, sorry.
When I say manage your hostel, basically, it's not as if I think manage in the essence that we are onboarding you as our partners. Do you understand? We are onboarding you as our partners. So it is the hostels taken through our platform that you get to manage. Do you get? So let's say somebody wants to rent your house, you have to invite them, go through this app. Do you understand? When you go through this app, then you have access to their details. Their details on your own database, which is the partner dashboard. So you can manage your transactions. Who and who is owing you rent? Who and whose rent is due next month that I need to call to remind that, your next rent is so date. How much volume of money am I receiving? And like that. You get.
So the reason I asked the question was because you said you allow these people chat. Like you said, you allow
the students chat with our agents. Our agents then chat. Like we are just like link between the students and the landlords. You understand? It's not as if we are removing ourselves from.
Are the landlord in the platform and is it accessible to the student? Because the students are no customer. Or they are your user.
Yeah. You said something about.
Sorry.
You wanted to say something else.
Okay, so if I'm the landlord, why do I need your platform? Because Nigeria. See, you don't need to as a Nigerian landlord. The student that will be chasing you, not you chasing, not the user.
Yes. Okay. So, now let me explain. So
what value are you?
What value are we giving to?
Are you adding like?
Okay, so we are working on their empathy. Yeah. We are going to work on their empathy. In this essence, actually, what value are we bringing to the landlord? We can only tell them, okay, fine, we're trying to bring more audience to you. Yeah. But then the empathy that we're working on is we're trying to let them know that this request that the landlord said he doesn't want you.
Can you child person become homeless?
What is it?
When he's paid already and secured accommodation, then becomes homeless.
What's
the value proposition for the students?
I'm saying no, like the guy in front of you, sorry. Okay, that's fine.
So I don't know how you want the conflict, but what if you onboard a landlord, then get there and start living, and then the landlord wants to deport because of the commission you are getting from them? Subsequent
our commission does not concern the landlord because you are getting your money. Do you understand? You tell us your house is 100K. We tell you you are getting your 100K. Do you get? Okay. So that's just it for us. For now, actually. But along the line, when the landlord sees the value that we are giving to them, do you understand? We intend to charge that commission on a subscription for that partnership that I told you about.
So, if I get it correctly, the student is paying more.
Are they paying more?
Who is benefiting? Who is
Yeah, they are paying more.
So if I'm renting a place on your platform,
Yeah.
if the landlord is giving that place for 100K,
Before you get the landlord, you know the stress you go through.
wait. Before he's giving for 100K,
Yeah.
so why can't I use your platform and get it for 98K?
Okay, this is it. Okay, yes,
I'm just
obviously, students now don't even have direct access to the landlord. Do you know that? They go to agency. Agency charge 50,000 naira, agreement 50,000 commission. That's like 100. Do you get? So we are taking that bulk off you.
Sorry, you literally did not collect the agent and agreement?
Yes.
Why?
So that's the solution that we're trying to provide. Basically.
Sorry, I have
Like, why should I pay more than the house I'm renting? Why should I pay more than the house? When I was a student, yeah, 2 of us were literally we were looking for house around Akoka, Yaba. They'll tell us house rent is 100, but you have to pay 150 for the house rent that I'm paying for. Do you understand?
Okay, what you need to understand is landlord wants the commission and agreement not the agent. They only give agents some, and that's why you see agents come to you to beg you for some money after the house. That's how I would like to ask me that.
Alright, okay, so my name is Olamilekan. So can we talk about the pitch deck or just about the okay, me, great pitch, great program. So I just think that you're not so clear on the market size. How big is the market? Okay. Is it the global market or the Nigerian market? Okay. So you need to be clear. Right. And how do you calculate the market size? That's what we're going to mention.
Can you switch to market size?
So you don't need to answer me. You can just be very clear when you're like.
Okay, when I'm like, okay,
right? And the 5% commission is, I think you need to be clear on the business. 5% commission sounds very straightforward for so, but we all know that it's more complicated than that. There are some landlords that charge the commission and legal for themselves. There are some that the agents are the ones that charge that as well. And so I think that we might have this problem and we might have to think about it. So for instance, landlord lists their properties with you, right? Okay. But the relationship is not exclusive. So that means I can get your hostel and sign up the same landlord as you would sign up. So you might have to start thinking that how do I lock down the landlord? The same properties that you see on property price, on NigeriaPropertyCenter.com. So the competitive advantage then becomes who can get the most users, and that is not like a good place to take a business to. And I think you need to crack how you want to lock down the land. House, if you could able to manage your house, so they hand over the house, so you don't manage it and you don't have to think about the headache of managing your house. Maybe that will help you lock down. But you need to figure out.
You said it's not a fast payment system to get money.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. That is the right
so I think also that on your page, it was too long. You don't want to go more than 12 slides. 13, so it was too long. And I think that you didn't dwell so much on the problem.
Sorry, please let's reduce cycles.
Alright, so you didn't dwell so much on the problem. You didn't really understand the problem. The solution was not so, but it was like, oh, this is what the platform, you are talking about ideas of what the platform can do. And I think that maybe you didn't go through the MVP process of creating the product very well. You were just talking about features, we do this, you can do this, you can do this. If I'm investing, I would not be confused to invest because what is the core product that is going to the market, right? I know that you like great ideas and all that. I want to focus first on the first MVP before they start talking about the other features. And then also about the feedback, right? I think that you need to talk about your pitch of the story. If you've been a student, it's easier to connect to. When I was a student, I was looking for hostel. It took me 3 months after admission. Then during school, I like to solve this problem. Then I want to create my hostel. It's easier for students to get hostel through our platform. This is how big the problem is. There are 1 million students in Nigeria. Only 10% get accommodation. This is you go out to school. This is this and then
thank you. Actually, this is actually an old slide. Actually, we don't have to get to the next one. Alright. So that's sorry.
Alright, so one more question before
Okay,
we
good evening. So I want to come out from the perspective of being a student of education, right? So there's currently an issue, I don't know if you are familiar with the supply is getting to be more than the demand. So you have like a lot of hostels, and most of these hostels have very low occupancy rates. And then you spoke about even hostels on campus. I don't know if you are familiar with the fact that those guys just list it for a period of time, after which it becomes a property of the school. So I don't know, I feel that from a student's perspective, one of the sides of your products that I really like, and I feel like there's not been so much solution in that aspect, is the roommate thing, right? Trying to pair people together, because the purchasing power of students most times is actually very low. You know, if you compare the number of students that really have the money to pay for an accommodation, you'll be shocked that people don't really have that money. They're only doing it because, for example, I remembered that there was a time that two friends of mine stayed outside one of their sister's room for 6 months because they didn't have the money to
step to class for.
I mean, I did that shoes before. So I think that, and because if you come to say that the competition is local guys, I don't think that's like really correct. Trust me, there are a lot of guys that are on board people from WhatsApp, and they are super efficient. So Instagram, and then I feel like the whole point of an MVP is one part of your product that looks at the audience on a clearer note, right? So a website is really not a bad idea to start with, to really see if there is a very ready audience to put down their funds for this stuff. What I think that you can really do a lot well, that this solution, internet, XYZ, all of this stuff will really work, is when you have like roommates coming together, because I know how I faced a lot trying to get roommates myself. So that's really just where I think you can.
Alright, mine is just from the viewpoint of economic risk. You know that over the last 5 years in Nigeria, at least we've had an average of about 71 days of ASU strike.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
that's a threat to your cash flow.
Yes.
Now, can you invite something like an Airbnb? So, students are currently on campus, not on campus at the moment. The hostels are just there. There are people who travel to these places for one function or the other.
Okay. So, addressing that here, not now, actually. We intend partnering with, I think, JAM, so that students who are traveling far away for their JAM exams and everything, you understand, they can use our hostels, our available hostels. But not this current roadmap that we have, later on, so we intend to do that.
Alright, so that's a threat, because that poses a threat on your cash flow.
Let me give you a quick plan. So basically, you need to rework your business model. Because, you know, like you said, I'm not a fan of MVP, right? But I think here it does make sense. You actually try. People do WhatsApp. Jonathan, have you tried WhatsApp? You see what are the issues with if WhatsApp can solve your problem?
A WhatsApp chatbot can also work.
So why not check it from there? If you want to do the whole busy, try to just source for funds. I don't know how you just get one hostel. Do you understand? Digitalize that hostel. Take it on management. Say, okay, you know what, we are taking this whole hostel, we'll give the man for all the hostel, for the entire thing, the entire 10 rooms, we'll give him 1 million. You understand? We will now give it out based on our applications. We'll segmentize it, look at how much we're making on that 1 million, try to then capitalize on that. We lose money in the instance, but when you now look at that flow, you don't have to use an app for that. Look at it. We've done it, we've onboarded, we've done these numbers, then we can then move on from that. We don't need to use the rest.
Addressing this part actually, we discussed this, I think, was it not last week? So the thing of telling is doing crowdfunding. Like, we see a particular house in the school area, do you understand? Like, 10 rooms, like we said, okay, we tell the man, okay, we're going to pay you for let's say 2 years. Then we crowdfund from people, just like please don't car rights, do you understand? Get money together, tell you that. Real estate investment. So tell you that, okay, we're going to get money from you to furnish this house. Do you understand? We're going to get money from you to rent this house. Aside renting the house, okay, solving supply issue. Instead of a 1-man room, turn it to a 2-man room. Do journeys and all, a 3-man room if possible. We furnish it normally, bed and everything. So when students are just checking, they just check with their backpacks and all like that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's deviated a bit from his idea. And what he recommended was you don't need to wait for your app to trade.
To be ready.
Too many investments. Try to do it one and so we're building a fintech product, right? I didn't what Rise First did. Rise First never had an app when they started. His bank transfer to Rise First account. That was how they started. Until they did an app. And they had users. So you don't need to wait for your app to be ready. Go and get users. Don't wait for waitlist. Go and get users. You don't need your app to be ready.
Alright. Thank you. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Okay, so finally we have the last person pitching. John, pitching Cuddle. So, come on.
Okay. Okay, good evening everyone. My name is John. So I started selling real estate in 2021. I started selling real estate in 2021, and while selling real estate, I noticed a couple of problems in the market. So first of all, there was a story of a client of mine, and she still called me up to yesterday. She was one of my clients in she was one of my clients in the previous company that I worked for. So this lady wanted to buy a property. She's in the UK. She's not planning to come to Nigeria anytime soon or anytime in the future. And she decided to buy a land from me, so she paid for the land. The land was a of 2 million naira. She paid 850,000. And when it got to the 12th month where she was supposed to balance off, unfortunately for her, she couldn't balance off the 2.5 million, which is the installment charge for the 2 million naira land. So after going back and forth, she requested that she wanted a refund of the money. So we reached out to the company and decided to get a refund. Unfortunately, the law says that she can only get 70% of what she has dropped. In 12 months, she lost time and she lost money. She's not interested in living in Nigeria. She just wants her money to work for her. There's another young guy as well. He saved 4,000 naira for 4 years just because he wanted to buy land. As a matter of fact, he spoke to a lot of real estate companies, requesting if there was a possibility for him to just own something that can allow him to make money. And in 4 years, 4,000 naira per month, he gave him only 192,000. 4 years of his life cannot buy him blocks of land as I speak. So looking at all of these challenges, many of us might have also lost a lot of money in the forex market. I mean, all because most Nigerians are just looking for an alternative means of cash flow away from doing your day-to-day work. And this was one of the reasons why we decided to launch Cuddle. So we know that there are ways to buy properties, stocks in Apple, Tesla, but in real estate the case is very different. And this generation is where a lot of young people want to really own stuff without having to stress themselves. They want to do other things, and at the same time they want a bragging right. So we said, okay, how can we do it? So the first thing we did is, can we make it very easy, just like your Uber, where you go in ride sharing, yourself and a friend, put money together, get to where you're going to. The goal is exactly the destination, sometimes not really the process. So what if people can come together and co-own properties, and then what we do is we then do our own due diligence, search for these properties, make sure that they're in strategic locations, and on the platform you can do all your work there. We now become your personal real estate manager. We manage your properties for you. Very simple. You can easily monitor your property from anywhere you are in the world. How? First of all, if you own a house, for example this location, TechPoint decided to rent it for use today. You get a notification on your phone that your property was just rented at XYZ amount. So automatically, you bought so units on the platform and you rented it so day for XYZ amount. You can tell that this is exactly what you should be expecting at the end of that period in time. Next slide, please. Okay, so how does it work from our own side? We search for the properties and handle all the paperwork. We then list up, before then, we NFTize these assets into Cuddle tokens. We are really working on that. It's currently in process as I speak. And we then list it on our platform for users to co-own. And finally, we manage the assets and pay out rent as dividends from the property. Currently, as we speak, we currently give certificate of ownership. So for those who have bought a property on our platform, after buying the property within 7 days, they get a message when they buy a property, indicating not just their receipt, but an information that they will get a ownership certificate in 7 days as soon as they are done paying for the asset. Okay, so and after then, please next slide. So these are products roadmap. We launched our web version May 31st this year, and we launched an affiliate program July. Started development of mobile app August. That was the designing of the UI. We currently want to start NFT development in October, launch November, and launch our NFT platform in December. Next slide, please. So May 31st we went live. This slide was designed last month. In 3 months, we were 3 months, 5 days ago or so, and we already hit 598 users, with about 120 of them who are already paying users on our platform. Our first user was a lady that gave us ₦1 million. And then we had a user who onboarded herself, her father, her mother, and like all of the family, like 6 of them currently own an asset on our platform. We generated this in 55 days and launched the affiliate program by 25th of July. Next slide, please. So our target market is basically youth between the ages of 16 to 27. Though we edited this slide to make it 18 because of the whole legal thing, who can afford properties from as low as $50 to 20,000 naira. You said what, sorry? Okay, so but on our platform, we're kind of creating a system where you can gift somebody lesser than 18, because I know a young guy went to do something in secondary school, and this guy already has been saving money, had like 30K, wanted to buy a property. So we have that kind of feature that we're working on where you can easily gift somebody who is lesser than 18 and has all those stuff, his details and everything. Next slide, please. So currently, this is like, when I also prepared this as well, this was what I got online, but I got to find out that this is for Lagos alone, $7.3 billion total available market, and based on our calculation, serviceable available market $2.9 billion, and serviceable obtainable market $937 million. And then the next slide. So these are competitors. Cryptstock launched in 2020. Yeah, 20. My Square Roof launched in 2021. Rough Funds launched in 2022. But what makes us different from all of these guys that are here? I was at an event today where somebody was talking about Cryptstock. So apparently she tried to use Cryptstock for a while after an influencer talked about it, and somehow it was really confusing for her to navigate the platform. So she came over and said she still tried it last week again to see if it would work, or if she could understand it. But even me personally as a real estate person, it took me a lot of time to go through. But well, that's really not how we are different. Where we're different is, first of all, we give you like a sense of ownership. So on RiseVest, if you invest in real estate, you can't visit an asset, you just know it's real estate. You earn XYZ percentage. But this time, if Segun is in the UK and he bought a property in Nigeria, Segun is coming to Nigeria December for vacation. On his dashboard, Segun can easily, by the click of a button, book his own apartment to use for that festive period if it is available. That's the joy, that I have something that I don't just think I have, but something I can post on the gram and say is my asset. The next thing is you can control your earning. So we make 20% from it. All we do is that we make 20% from whatever that property makes, and then you take the 80% off it. So obviously, because we notify you on every time any person uses the platform, you know what is happening per time, right? So you are notified somebody just rented your platform, somebody is just using your platform, you can visit it. So it's easy for you to monitor how it's going. And then NFT is just for security reasons, so that, I mean, you know that you have your own digital, security to know that this is your asset and there's nobody taking this. Then we have an insanely great team who is passionate, who are passionate about the products that we're building. A business model, we charge 1% of the total cost of the property for acquisition fee So, I mean, we go searching for this property, doing the confirmation, legal states. Are you sure this is not under any encumbrance and all of those things? So we take 1%, and then we take 20% from the cash flow generated from that property after operational expenses are incurred. One of the things that we're also doing is at the end of the year, every users have access to the financial record of that property. If we say they are owners, then we shouldn't just show it by them accessing it. They should also have access to the numbers. After they see the numbers, we only take 20% from whatever is done after the operational expenses. And then this is the team. Myself, I lead the team. Victoria, she was early co-founding employee at Utiva. Fabian has been in the real estate market for quite a while. David is a CTO at Diwali. Then we have an investment advisory that's been working with most of the real estate investment trust in Nigeria, Union Capital and Co. Then Anthony Ekong leads a crypto community of over 2,500 active members. So we're currently working with that. So as soon as we launch our NFT site, it's easy to begin to onboard them. And then we have Adam Vincent, who worked with Apple for 8 years, currently on our team. So we believe very strongly that we Cuddle, we want to change how people own stuff, and you can do other things while real estate is building cash flow for you. Basically, what we're really about is cash flow, generating income while you're doing other stuff. Thank you.
Do you know where the FCC office is? No, I'm curious.
Okay.
You know where the
You can go ahead. Yes, I do.
Are you familiar with the SEC rules on digital
Very well.
assets?
Very well.
Are you
So when we wanted to start, just can you go back to the team? So when we wanted to start, we went through all the SEC questioning and everything. And one of the reasons why we were unable to put ourselves under a trustee is because unlike collecting money from people, this time is more like they literally were looking at us like e-commerce, where you select what you want to buy. So at the same time, they were telling us that real estate is not yet regulated. If we're just collecting the money, investing it into assets, then so we have been in between that. Yeah.
No, I mean as long as you're working towards it, because you're saying NFTs.
Definitely. As soon as you get there.
NFTs is that's already regulated. So there are rules that one has, and I'll tell you why. I asked Igbinosa. I'll tell you guys. There's a website mark.ng. Mark.ng.
MVP.
That guy is still in FCC custody today.
Sorry, MEP what?
MEP. I was involved in the negotiations with SEC. We paid out 300 million, one person in general, to make sure that the army didn't get involved in that thing. That it was a good business. Logistics. It was going fine. We could pay at least 1 0 point. And then the business turned on him. Everybody, they invaded his office, stole the bikes, stole everything. Next thing you know, EFCC got it, he couldn't pay back. He had the money, he had the funds in the account. He could pay all the investors, but they were too agitated. That guy is still in EFCC custody because it's single payment that he missed. And people got agitated. The general had given him 200 million, had to pay the guy 300 million. So that, okay, Army, you first take your own. See now, he had to give out 3 Land Cruiser Prados. I'm telling you, fact, because the guy's assets were over 2 billion. Do you understand? When you're doing things like this, people may think, let's do it. I'm making people die. Once liability comes in, it's not, I have a lot of them, even TGIC ones I'm currently involved in now. Agro Partnership Fund 14. That one there, EFCC, court, SEC, everybody's involved. SFU, they're all involved there, everybody's. These people are saying, oh, give us some time, we'll pay back. Nobody wants to listen. They froze all their accounts, all their assets, they can't. So you have people, when you collect money from people, even if it says e-commerce, the moment you have those responsibilities to these people, you have to be very careful. Very true. Because the moment it may miss one. They're out.
Yeah, just last week we had a conversation around that, seeing how we can, because regardless of what everybody is saying or what they were saying about the fact that real estate is not yet regulated and all of those things, just for the extra security reason, we want to do it ourselves.
But still not regulated.
On this aspect, you can confirm.
which aspect?
Like on like
It's an asset class.
buying real estate, like buying real estate on it. So you don't like
fractional real estate.
fractional real estate not yet regulated.
And so you see the main issues, you're looking at it from a different point of view. You're looking at it maybe from the e-commerce aspect where people select and buy from.
Exactly.
But if you're looking at it for them, if you then convert it to what you're doing, which technically is converting it to another asset class.
Okay.
Do you understand? You're saying people then get NFTs, or you then get a digital asset that signifies your ownership in a project.
Exactly.
If you look at it, that's essentially what it says. It
Yes.
says you have a company, you want people to invest in a project, you then take that project, provide a white paper on that asset class that you want to then raise money for. You submit it, they review, they accept, you have a 51% stake, you are sold only 49%, then you give it out, then you can crowdfund. You understand? That's essentially what you're doing. So if now they tell you that it's not regulated, you see, let me tell you, don't trust tech. See, if somebody told you that it's not, look, even the crowdfunding, how many people crowdfunding platforms are registered? Centralized. They'll just give you. Moment Casala should post. That's where you know that Nigeria's law enforcement is very effective. You think that everybody is just relaxing. When you first do 5 million on bail at SFN, EFCC picks you up as you're coming outside. You go to EFCC, they invite you to Abuja, SEC picks you up again. Then you come out again, your bank account, everything all gone. You've gotten your BVN. You can't fly out. That's when you begin to see that, what's going on? Do you understand? Like,
I get you.
honestly,
we really would appreciate, because me personally, I'm not a lawyer. I don't work in SEC. I can only seek for advice.
Real estate, I just hope you do proper verification. Once you can, at least you know that worst case scenario you will say
exactly.
And you have people back their money. At least don't invest in all this
No. So the thing is, we buy. So when we started, we obviously there are opportunities for us to partner with these companies. Why we don't do that is because it's easier for us to hit our profit margin faster, and we have control, which is like the major thing. We control what we buy, we control the verification, so we are not buying based on a company has bought. No, we do the heavy lifting ourselves, going to the family, the government, doing the verification. It's more easier for us to actually hit.
What if I tell you I have an asset that you can invest in now?
You as an individual?
No, my company. We own a stake in a prospective resort.
Okay.
If you're interested.
I mean, we can have a conversation and
big money.
I mean,
but I don't have to do verification because you see, properties are very tricky. You understand? Like, properties are, and I'll tell you from experience because I'm pretty silent. I bought with properties worth billions in Nigeria. Do you understand? And you see people. I've seen property documents going back as far as 1957. Sure. Registered title. True. And then somebody will come and say, no. A document that is over 60 years is invalid. And then we go to court, you have to do all those things. So even when you do verification and do searches, don't trust those land people as well. Except you have somebody that goes there and brings out the physical file. Don't trust the electronic search.
No, I get that. I mean, there's this asset in Igbinosa, for example, that even the government gave the people, and they are currently having issues because the government wants to. So
I will tell you,
the advantages are in the market. I am not building a product because I love tech. I'm building a product because I am in the real estate market. I build myself. So I'm very familiar with the market in terms of verification.
No, certainly, because I'm not saying, look, real estate itself is risky. You understand? Sure. I will tell you, I have lost the matter, quite frankly, to somebody who said he had customized title. I'll give you our client has here from Lagos State government. You understand? Property acquired by Lagos State. You know everything from the token down to where it belongs to Lagos State government.
Yeah.
You know that on the right side.
Yeah.
So we went, I mean, we felt what can you? And then Lagos State has defended that everybody went to court. The guy just came and brought some family members to come and say it's their land. He brought one receipt from 1981. It's invalid. Because Lagos State has acquired it in 1991. And then the court disagreed with us. You know why? He said Lagos State did not produce photographs of when he was pasting the museum. That singular thing, that they did not tender photographs from 1991. And lost that matter. Now that land is gone. And our client paid, I think she paid about 75 million to Lagos State government to acquire that property.
No, I mean, in
Now
Lagos,
we are taking Lagos State.
no, the thing is, in Lagos State, right, when you are buying a property, you're buying from two people, the government and the family. It's like very basic. Like if you are familiar with this Alaro City, the project in Alaro City, for example, Alaro City was collected. It was a resettlement property. At the end of the day, they are still dragging Vanguard. But at the end of the day, because Alaro City has a hike, so the public is not really interested. They are not really aware that Alaro City has family issues with the government on that particular land.
Familiar with Shanisha case?
You said?
Are you familiar with Shanisha case?
Yes, I'm very familiar.
So what happened with the Shanisha case?
So you know the Shanisha issue, for
So I
example?
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of time for that. We'll probably do that some other Good Friday. But just before we continue taking questions, if you came a bit late, maybe after 5:30 or so we had a session, how to get your first 100 customers. You can always go back on YouTube and check it. So you can do that later on.
But can you share the slide?
The slides for that?
Yes.
Alright, so let's go ahead with the questions.
Okay, so I think
The presentation is on YouTube.
Yeah, when you watch
I mean, of course, he has already said it. Like, you need to sort out the legal issues, right? You need to, and I think that you shouldn't joke. That you shouldn't. I think my feedback regarding the pitch is your position is not so clear. So, and because I'm talking to two classes of investors, those who are interested in NFT and metaverse and blockchain, and those who are traditional thinking investors, right? So if I'm traditional thinking investor and I'm telling you about NFT, I'm not interested in NFT, right? So we might need to have two different decks that positions you as a blockchain-oriented NFT tokenization. No all those, what's in that space, right? And then a different one that talks about an asset buying fintech or platform where people who don't have money, they don't have to wait till there are any millions of naira to own a property, and you make it easier for them. So I think that's one feedback that I have. The other one is just your competitors. Are they in Nigeria? The ones you mentioned, they're all in Nigeria.
All in Nigeria.
Okay, that's fine. Because the name didn't sound Nigerian at all. But those are just some feedback, that's all.
Alright.
I think, as usual, I like starting here. So, I just want to ask a few questions around the model itself.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Nigeria, within the last couple of years, we've had some instances of, not in the real estate industry, but unregulated investments. Yeah, from the discussions that we've had so far, the regulatory aspect of it is not really that very clear. Yeah, so my question is around the trust system. So assuming, let me just back on what he said. Looking at two classes of investors, the blockchain oriented and the traditional investors. So assuming I'm a traditional investor now and I want to invest into, how do you establish that trust between me and you? Because it's not really like you have a clearly defined returns that this person is entitled to. But what you say is that you notify the person when the asset is occupied or is rented here. So, as an investor, how do I trust you that you will notify me when the asset is here? What's that trust system?
All right. So first of all, for the crypto side and the fiat side, which is normal cash, we have two different platforms for them, and that's why I took the feedback of making the decks quite clear. If you check cuddle.io, that's where we put in the white papers. We believe that, and what we do is when we calculate this asset, for example, the current assets we have there's pricing in Ikate, for example. That asset, the way we did our calculation from the back end is we are putting that property out for short let. Between March to August, we are predicting that asset will accommodate people only 8 times in 1 month, minimum. Then from September to February, we are predicting it to take you 15 bookings in 1 month. I'm very certain that from September down to January, people will be striving to get accommodation. I'm so certain because I manage assets myself. My shortlet does a minimum of 20 days in 1 month. But we don't want to put in 20 days so that you are not so excited by the numbers, and at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not the market. I don't control demand and supply. So we put it there and we write it clear that these are just predictive numbers of what we believe that the market should actually do. So if you check the platform, you find what
I totally get it. I understand that you have your performance projections and you also have your caveats here that say that this might not be so. So, but my question still remains, what is the trust system? Let's projections and the caveat aside.
Yeah.
So, assuming that, how, because I'm not going into any business on a gentleman's agreement, but based on your caveat, what is the system for me to hold you accountable if this projection is reached or it's overperformed? How do I know the numbers, the exact numbers? I don't need to, you don't just have to come to tell me that this is what happened and you expect me to believe. There needs to be a system for checks and balances.
You mentioned that they send the financial at the end of the year.
Yeah, but it's still coming from him. It's coming from him.
So you want an auditor?
I mean,
you are an investor, you can actually.
That's what
if your cost,
you can't request him to audit. So you have to be able to
I get it. But my question, I'm not really very great idea. So I'm just trying to.
I get you.
If you go in that direction.
Yes, I get
That's
that.
just what I'm trying.
I mean, on our own side, right? Because building these products, I'm a real estate person too, and I'm also trying to simulate as a user. So in my head, I'm like, okay, what's the best possible, or what's the possible means to put in some level of trust? So the financial report thing was just like the best that we could actually put out to say, okay, fine. At the end of the year, we'll give you the performance. It's very easy. If you have any friend or something, you own the property or own the property like it, you can look at the numbers and I mean you might not be exactly sure that this is a number, but you know that there's something should be close to.
Now I agree with that.
So but if you have like a better way that you feel that we can integrate, I'm greatly open for suggestions.
So my question is kind of not straightforward and very, very radical.
Can you come forward so that I can hear you?
Okay. So my question is, assume I am on your platform.
Yes.
But I'm a thief. I'd be better if you don't and I'm trying to like hide that entire thing. I know in the fiat side it might be hard, but you are empty and token. What is the probability that me and my party will not come and hide another $1 million in the platform?
Okay, thank you. So this is a very sensitive question to answer. And
when I'm going back to when you said EFCC, just remember why
So you might actually be following, and I don't know if this connects, but you might be following. I follow the conversation on Twitter around money laundering and fintech platforms and all of those things. Honestly speaking,
Which is true. Which is very, very true.
there is no exact way you can control some of these things. Like
we arrest you.
No.
We are arresting when I'm putting $1 million.
I'm saying that the thing is, I mean, they are just like number one. We don't go into the transaction of our
Make a tier system.
God bless you.
You said
Make a tier system.
okay.
For basic users, can't invest more than 200,000. Even if you're investing more than 1 million, so you're subject to additional.
We have that. We have that.
Why are you not telling me?
No, what I'm saying is that two things are involved. The only thing we can do, I was just going to answer that. Number one, we don't see into the transaction of our users. We can only put in measures of verification that will say, okay, like for example, on our platform currently, because it's an MVP stage, users, some of the users are not really verification. So initially when we started, and which is one of the reasons we use mobile, we web app before it starts. Because we web app, we are pushing updates as soon as 24 hours based on how we see user feedback. Now, when we started, some people were not willing to do the whole verification process. Because obviously, number one, they're a new platform, nobody knows you, they are just coming in, who wants to put in their KYC and all of those things. So what we did is we allow you to put in the basic, and we allow you to give us only a level of fund that cannot exceed 50,000.
If you want to do anything hard than that, you obviously have to go through the verification.
You said your first time to give you 1 million.
Thank you. So,
police
no, I'm going to answer that.
You don't go like that.
No, thank you. I'm going to answer that. So this person even gave us the fund before we launched.
Before?
Yes.
So, okay, so you see there's what we call proof of income.
Property like this, bare land, and I'm wondering how would bare land make money? Alright, okay? And you call the media this thing. The next thing you call the pharmaceutical people.
Okay.
Your pitch deck, I'm saying $7,200.
Yes.
And every person has enough.
Alright, so let me go ahead. Number one, real estate, right? You cannot avoid the fact that this platform is a combination of the traditional to the front side of technology.
Everything tech is traditional.
Right? So there's no how we can, I mean, there's no how we can, there's no pure tech. Right? And this lady who gave us, okay, so this lady who gave us fund, right? How it basically happened was just like how we were conversing. We came over and we were like, okay, this is what we're up to. We basically pitched the whole product to her. And she's like, oh, she's interested in buying a unit of ours when we go live. And I'm a salesman before technology. I'm like, okay, you can put something down because I needed funds to also.
The person that distributed it father, mother, children, that is laundering money through money. KYC on this one.
You said what?
People that are trying to divide their money
Not their family.
different.
Okay, so the way
that person that works for the government, that is the civil servant, that has put all the money inside.
So, first of all, I did not know even about this story. It was my co-founder that
noticed.
No. So I spoke about
internal compliance within flat transaction.
So I spoke about the affiliate program. We have an affiliate program where people go and onboard. Right? It was a girl sharing her experience after we were done that she onboarded her dad, her mom was interested, and that was how I got to know the story.
How nice.
So there was no way I could have known this without her.
Well, just a suggestion. I think this is 2020, right?
Yes.
So I want to assume that a lot of things are still forming. Okay, so I would just say keep building and working. The idea doesn't sound fully formed yet to me. Okay, a lot of things not yet figured out.
A lot of things not yet figured out.
Yes.
Sorry. I have one question.
Okay.
What do you define as pure tech? Is advertising tech pure tech? Ad tech?
As far as I'm concerned, there is no pure tech.
Is advertising tech like
at least?
The question is like, is advertising tech pure tech?
What do you mean by ad?
What do you mean by
ad tech? The same thing Google, Facebook, run ads on your phone and all of that.
If you define that as tech, I will define my making a phone call as tech.
Pure, no fiction.
Look, when I say it's not pure tech.
Sorry, let's go ahead with this.
Right, so I have a question as well as a comment. So if you look at your competitive advantage, right?
Yes,
you said perhaps I stay abroad, I can decide to make use of my property, right? I have a property. Now, in the real sense, so let's just imagine that I'm going by what you said. So the maximum you can actually do is 50K.
No, not the maximum.
Okay?
I was talking about the maximum you can do before verification.
Okay?
Yes.
So let's assume this bill, for instance, is 100 million.
Okay.
Right? If I do 50,000, or let's assume you have an average subscription of 50,000, right? So that means you're going to have 2,000 or 50,000 naira subscription, right, to own this building.
Okay.
So technically, you don't actually even own this space. Because your 50K, if you do a costing analysis of this space, perhaps this space might cost you 2 million. And I'm making a contribution of 50,000. So I actually don't even own anything. So it's, in terms of owning a fraction of the property, really, I'm not sure that's a valid proposition.
That is a valid proposition.
It is?
It is a very, very valid proposition.
Well, in terms of using that property, I'm not sure that's it.
No, not in terms of using.
No, that's what he said.
Okay, but they can use it.
You can actually use the property. But you're using it as a business. Not.
So it's a different thing when you generate income
if I own a part, right? So is it time sharing? If it's not time sharing, it's fractional ownership.
No, it's fractional ownership. What I'm saying is
how are
that
you able to use it if it's not a time sharing?
So what I'm saying
just
is
a
that
customer.
As a customer, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, but then you pay. Then you now pay
Exactly.
1% of the money you pay.
No, so the thing is that instead of you going to pay somebody else for the same property you own, you already
You get
know
a
that
discount. If you're
definitely you have a discount.
Yeah, that's just like
That's
saying
okay.
Richard Branson to fly in Virgin.
Exactly.
So
again, at what point?
it's not big deal. If you don't promote your own business, who will promote it?
So we're trying to turn the users themselves.
Network marketing.
So can you conceive that you just a large chunk of your market should be diaspora?
Definitely.
Okay, so
at least.
So the thing is, sorry, to answer this question, sorry, to answer this comment, I meant to say, we understand that very strongly the purchasing power is in the diaspora. We're currently working on that. We would appreciate suggestions as well. One of the team members suggested that we can try, because I mean, we're still at MVP stage, that we can try this whole country representative thing first and see if we can find one or two persons that we can talk to initially. But on the side, sorry? Yeah.
Packaging sales.
Yeah.
If you package, that went with. Go to no, seriously, go and get 1 or 2 certificates in entrepreneurship, real estate management, that way.
Bro, they don't they talk here since too much for your madam.
When you do that, you get a few certifications. All these gigs, you see tech when they do 1 or 2 programs, where you should go and talk. Get personal recognition first. Company representatives only help you to push for you if you're the one you're facing. If it's not you, then somebody else. But it has to be a case of business that should be working on personal. That is what, when it comes to investments, people need to see who they are giving their money to. You need to then project that quote. If I give you that money, it may not be safe, but still, you just need to project, that, and you need to then project that success, that you've taken a few courses, even though the courses don't mean shit. You just put it there. One certificate. If people still help, take 1 course out. When you take from your 7K, take like 2K. Lagos Business School, go and do 1 short course. Something like that. At least you can collect 1 certificate.
Boss, why you know they work for PR or something?
Alright, so that's why
let's take over.
I didn't finish my question. So again, let's assume that you have a property worth of 100 million, right? I make a subscription of 50,000. Going by what I said earlier, you have about 2,000 persons to actually, it's that 100 million target. Now, of course, the 2,000 people won't come at the same time. So I make a subscription today, right? The goal is to hit 100 million. Maybe the next person comes in 2 days after. So you would have a waiting period. I've come in today, it might be the next 6 months, 1 year, before you hit the 100 million target. And at that point, it means that you really have a lot of cash flow, which I assume channeling into interest generating asset. At what point do you refund back my money really? Because I can't continue to keep my funds with you, right? So you're telling me I want to purchase this property, and I've given you my 100,000 as at this moment, but that's not the goal. You have to wait till crowdfund until everybody comes in and make that contribution. So at that point, Okay,
so first of all, about this, 2 things. I'll talk about what we plan to do and what we're currently doing right now. So right now what we're doing is, we are only, on our platform, we are only using assets that are off-plan, because we know that it has a period. So for example, the property in Ikate is going to be completed by November. So we put it out into the market last month. We know that it will take us 4 months to make sure that this property is funded. Right? So that already gives you an advantage of also buying lower than market value, number 1. Gives us the luxury of time to make sure that we fully fund that property as fast as we can, so that by that 4th month when we are done with that asset, we too should also have been done with funding that property. That's what we're currently doing.
How about we're able to get that done?
I'm going there. But no, in most cases, right, the thing is, we are also salespeople. We are also trying to look out for these people ourselves. we usually will have to sell it one way or the other. It just must be sold, right? But on the other side of it, where we intend to go is when we are able to have some level of funds. What most platforms in the US do is they already have invested in a larger chunk of these assets. So whether you are done with it or not, it's already in motion. While they get your money to refinance that property, they pick their cash back and put it somewhere else. But obviously, we don't have that luxury of funds now to do that. That's why we are still doing.
You also pick up overdrafts.
Exactly.
So,
I think the difference.
Alright, so great idea, Cuddle. I know a couple of friends that are doing what they are doing, and a lot of them are now told by the ESCC. I'll start from the key 3 things that ESCC regard as this. The first key thing is coming from this aspect. They see it as a Ponzi scheme. Why is it a Ponzi scheme? They see it as a Ponzi scheme because you are taking people money, and the money you are taking, one, is not regulated. Like, how do you know that these people can own up, or how do you know these people can make this money, right? Okay, for me, I feel it's because of the financial system, and I have to wait till, let's say, 30 years, because you do not really have so much money. You can afford me, right? Is there interest on my waiting?
Alright.
And I know a friend, right? The way my friend does it, the way he does it is, he waits for like, he tells them that everybody puts in this money for 4 months, right? You are like, the money will be completed in 4 months, and once the money is completed, the project is being embarked on.
Alright.
Do you understand?
Alright.
Yeah. Then the third one.
Can I answer those two before? So I don't forget. So first of all, you need to understand that this is real estate. Let's get that very clear. Number one, real estate is not like the forex market, right? Where, I mean, it's just different. The metrics are very different. Number one. Number two, when you come on the platform, we also, and that's why we're trying to do the education part of it, because Nigerians don't really understand like the way investment really works. And we don't that's why when you go to any of these assets, before you buy, we make you understand that, number one, we are not promising you a percentage. What we do is we show you clearly, this is what this asset can make. This is the, we basically put all the information there for you to be clear so that you understand what you are putting your funds into. That's what the difference between we just calling you to say, come and put in XYZ fund and get 15%. We are putting all the information you see year 1, year 5, year 7 based on, I mean, how we have watched this market over time. And I don't know if I added that we're also like working with Estate Intel to make sure that this whole data thing is somewhat very clear. So, and then you talking about raising funds or real estate, number one, when you put your funds in an asset, you don't just gain from rental. There is the appreciation value that comes to that asset. So the way you put your money, it's already on its own moving. That's why I said right now, what we do right now is that we are only putting our funds in off-plan properties. For example, if you check our platform and our Instagram page, of recent we still did a project update of that property, the current stage, what is going on. So you are informed that, okay, this property you are buying, this is the stage of the building that is going on it. This is what they have done. They have installed the burglary fitting. In your own face, you are already investing. You are putting your funds. You can see it's working. Behind the scene, we as the founders, we are making sure that this product is sold out before the project is completed. And it is clear we are writing you to tell you that this project will take XYZ time to be completed from the developers. As soon as it's completed, your property goes into the market. So we should not be the one to go and figure out how this property is sold out.
Sorry.
Sorry. No more question. Just one question. Sorry.
Okay.
There's something.
No.
You can meet him after and you answer your question.
Now you're talking about NFT. Can you, before I proceed, what do you mean by incorporating NFT to whatever you're doing?
So you have 30 seconds to answer the question.
Okay. Before I answer the question, like I just really want to understand what does it mean that?
Yeah, he has 30 seconds to answer.
Jump straight forward.
Okay, it's very simple. Digital like ownership. You have a digital certificate.
Okay, now you have a digital certificate. You know that the market is volatile, and for you to own an NFT, you need to burn some certain percent of maybe income And now you're talking.
And this is energy tied to real assets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
just,
it
doesn't have anything to do with
yeah. Alright, so that alright, so thank you. With that, thank you so much. With that, we are bringing this to a close. Thank you so much for coming and thank you for participating.